Hey, Foot Clan, are you looking to play some DFS this weekend? Jump into FanDuel, DraftKings. You got to check out the Ultimate DFS Pass. This is our premium resource. We're helping you out, getting you ready for the weekend. Expert advice from guys like Jake Seeley, Chris Meany, and Ben Cummins. We're talking about our cash game picks, the tournament picks, favorite stacks of the week, and so much more. Check it out. One low price for the entire season. If you're going to play, you got to check out UltimateDFSPass.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in.
It wasn't me!
We're glad to have you back, Papa.
You boys okay?
Jason tried to burn down the building.
I don't agree. I don't agree with you. I listened in to the show, and he was spitting hot fire. I mean, Jason was. I mean, no offense, Mike, but Jason was he was on a next level.
He's a blowtorch.
And it was pretty. I mean, you guys just held it down. You did a wonderful job.
We glued it together.
You did.
Like a house of cards with super glue.
I listened
I was using Elmer's.
You guys kept the shows. They weren't 2-3 hours long. It was impressive. I mean, maybe
sorry, Foot Clan,
the listeners were disappointed. I saw a strong movement for a Jason hosting opportunity, which even Jason said on the show. He goes, "You don't know what you're asking for."
It's true.
And then there was really one humongous mistake.
Oh no!
Uh-oh. Well, I want to know what this is.
Only one?
You guys
wait, only one? High five,
Good. We did it.
You were talking on the waivers show, and you were talking through some of the wideouts and things like that, and you brought up Kiki Kuti. Mm-hmm. And then you said, if you need somebody this week, Kiki will be a good play. But what you should have said was Kiki would be sneaky. And you messed it up.
Oh, man.
Do you see what I mean? Do you see what happened?
Look,
you had a rhyme.
I love a rhyme.
Yeah.
I love a good rhyme all the time. I don't know that he's sneaky anymore.
Oh, okay. So you were going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, I'm
Clearly.
gonna say it like it is. If that's all we missed, then we rocked the house. We didn't miss much.
Oh, well, I am excited to be back. I appreciate you guys giving me a couple days. All the kids are now sick.
That's what vacation does.
So we came home.
That'll teach you.
Came home a little early, and I'm back in the studio. So let's get it going. We have a great show today. The fantasy forecast, starts of the week, the boom boom kicker, some news to get to. I'm excited. You can follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. Hey, heads up! Guess what?
What?
FootClanVote.com.
Oh.
Mike didn't realize what was happening there.
I did not. I mean, that's out of order for you. But Foot Clan, go to FootClanVote.com. You helped us. We brought home the 3-time podcast awards, and now we've got the Discover Pods.
Now we're getting greedy
in our sights. Let's see what the Foot Clan can do. FootClanVote.com. You only got to go over there once.
Yeah, it's just a nomination for the Discover Pods Awards 2018. I believe S-Town brought home 4 of these last year, which a wonderful podcast.
Oh, that is a great podcast.
They got nothing compared to this show.
You know what S-Town doesn't have? The Foot Clan.
That's right.
Yeah.
Show them.
Eat it, S-Town.
You wish.
Anthony in Atlanta has our quick question for the day. He says, Week 6 seems to be where the energy and excitement around the new season starts to die down. How do you keep your energy up and possibly take advantage of league mates that are not paying as much attention anymore? Okay, that's a fair question. I mean, I like to believe that those around these parts, Foot Clan headquarters and therein, those that listen, not sure what words I just used, but I want to believe that those that listen to this show, the energy's staying up there. I mean, Jason's energy is, I would say, peaked.
Yeah,
despite the record.
I mean, the truth is you have to turn your anger, your depression, your sadness if you're not winning into just you know how you take butterflies when you're nervous and you use that energy to propel you forward. Instead, you turn the negative into a positive.
You have like a flying device made of butterflies?
You take a bunch of butterflies?
I'm saying, what are you talking when you got butterflies in your tummy? When you're nervous, this is a common expression. And you use that nervous energy and you turn it around into power. And so you just need to take all your sadness and bottle it up and swallow it and turn it into anger. That's what I'm doing.
I don't know what advice you just gave.
Play DFS.
And it's not that the butterflies isn't a common expression. It's the way you said it made me picture you in a field. Like you're 0-5 and you got a big old net. And you're just trying to catch butterflies because you can't catch a win.
Oh,
Well, you almost got one.
We're back to 2, man. You two enjoy the show.
Look, I think that if you ultimately you want to be in a league where everybody stays competitive, but even in the best leagues, there's ebbs and flows to people paying attention. There's ebbs and flows to people's interest into the amount of trade offers that go out there, into the amount of waiver pickups, those type of things. I think it's just about building that routine up. You know, you can take advantage of a lot of teams that have bowed out, and I think the people that take advantage of that the most are the 2 and 3 teams, the 1 and 4 teams. Because if a couple other teams that are in that same boat give up on the season, you only have to beat out a couple people to get into the playoffs to sneak in there. And none of these platforms look at your record in the first playoff weekend and say, well, you don't get to win because you were 9-7 or you were 8-8 or whatever it might be. It's an even playing field. You can be playing the best team in the league. You only got to win 1 week.
Yeah, you just sneak into the playoffs. And the truth is, what you're saying is so true. We see it every year. We've been talking about it for several weeks, is that whoever sticks with it has this is the time, as the listener points out, that people stop. Their passion wanes. And the truth is, just don't let that be you. Because then it's an extra advantage for you to not go away, to keep listening, keep playing, keep paying attention to the news, have a good time, and the wins will start rolling.
All right, you can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/thefantasyfootballers. If you want to see a cardboard bear the last 3 days, that's where you go to find one. Let's get into the news.
News and notes from around the league.
I'm noticing that there are a number of players that we've been excited to see return, but then they kind of like, they pump fake. They're like, I'm back, I'm not really back.
Yeah, the guys on my super team.
Well, Leonard Fournette's one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm back, I'm not back. Dalvin Cook.
Yep.
I'm back, I'm not back.
Oh, yeah, have him.
And then Devonta Freeman.
Oh, yeah, I got him too.
Yeah, he said, now this report's coming out. He's battling a bone contusion. Did not practice Wednesday. Some questions are out there as to his availability this week. There was a more positive report this morning about the fact the team isn't concerned to the degree that they were in week 1 about this injury.
Well, this is a new injury. So he had a bone bruise that he was dealing with, but that was a bone bruise in his knee. Now he has a bone bruise in his foot. So it's a completely new...
Get this man a banana.
Seriously, calcium up, my man. Get some potassium.
Need some potassium.
I was going to say, there's no calcium in a banana,
No, it's
there?
potassium, though.
Well, he still needs calcium.
Get this man some milk.
Some milk.
There we
Dip that
go.
banana into some milk.
Okay.
A milky
We're
banana.
not doctors. Not doctors.
Not a doctor.
But reverting to the fantasy advice here, are you concerned about Freeman's availability this week? And then if he does return, are you worried that it's going to be a very slow process getting him to the workload you're happy with?
Yeah, I have him pulled out of my lineup right now. I've got Alex Collins in over Devonta Freeman. I think this is a bump for Tevin Coleman. Look, you saw it this last week. This was his first week back from the knee bone contusion, and that was after taking several weeks off. So now here's a new injury in the foot. Maybe it's not as severe or as serious, but it's brand new. And it's going to hamper him. So yeah, I'm concerned about Freeman, especially for this week when I was very excited about him being at home against Tampa Bay. The matchup looked great, and now I'm concerned and afraid to play him.
Played fewer than 39% of the offensive snaps for Atlanta this past week. Even if he plays, that's what I would expect again, which means he's gonna tease you to start him for your fantasy lineup. But I would really try not to do it.
I don't remember you guys talking about Ito Smith on the waiver show. Is he somebody that you would be willing to play if Freeman was out this week?
Not I.
With the high over-under in that game?
Possible. I'm not going to completely shut it down because they do use a two-back system enough, and Ito Smith getting a goal line carry when all three were active.
That's the 57.5 point over-under at home. Tampa Bay.
I am definitely not going to shut that down.
You'd rather play Buck Allen.
Yeah, but desperate times, man. Let's say you have Devonta Freeman.
There's bye weeks this week.
You have Devonta Freeman. You got nobody else. Go grab Ito Smith just in case.
I think he's interesting. I don't think he's going to feel good to put him in your lineup, but there is an opportunity. Now let's talk about the number 2 fantasy football wide receiver. Cooper Kupp. He took part in the walkthrough on Wednesday, dealing with the concussion. So did Brandin Cooks. They were both listed as did not practice. They're both trending the right direction to get through the protocol. Are we feeling pretty good about these two?
Yeah, whenever you are progressing. I was talking to my trainer this morning. When it comes to concussions, it's just a matter of you watch whether they were allowed to progress at all. Doesn't matter if they're limited, but they need to be allowed to be on the side, doing individual drills, doing things like that. If they're not, that's a really bad sign for them to play this week. If they are progressing, that's usually it's as simple as that. If you're progressing, you're going to end up in. If you're not progressing, you're going to end up out, and they're progressing.
T.Y. Hilton and Jack Doyle not expected to play against the Jets. We had kind of expected Hilton to make it back because of the long wait after missing the Thursday game. Now he's not expected to be out there. I mean, Eric Ebron has been a must-start tight end since the beginning. They spent money to bring him in, but Jack Doyle not being there just assures us of the volume.
Okay, I've got a couple questions for you regarding Eric Ebron.
Oh, great.
All right.
Would you start this week Kyle Rudolph or Eric Ebron?
Ebron.
Yeah.
Would you start Devin Funchess in the flex or Eric
Wait
Ebron?
a minute. What is happening?
Asking for
What
a
is
friend.
happening?
Asking for a friend.
Are we setting your lineup, Jason?
Then no.
I would play Ebron.
I'd play Ebron over Funchess.
And Funchess or Kyle Rudolph? Just for a friend.
Wow, that
one's
feels
tough.
a little bit
Probably
like
Funchess.
a fantasy football eye exam there. A or B,
Right, yes.
B or C, C or A.
right,
Are you
okay.
seeing clearly
What a
now?
selfish man you are.
Yeah.
No. This was for a friend.
I see you perspiring, Jason.
Oh, shoot.
All right. Well, Eric Ebron is dealing with a shin, quad, ankle, knee. Is that true? Shin, quad, ankle, knee, Brooks?
That's what they listed him as on the practice report.
Is this a
Did not practice
Elbows,
yesterday.
knees, and toes. Knees and toes.
Shin bones connected to the ankle bone.
So the shin, quad, ankle, knee. You couldn't just say leg.
lower leg.
Leg.
Right.
Well, not even lower. It's upper too. You got got
Look,
the quad in there.
I'm-
Full leg.
I'm super happy about his calves. His calves are in great condition.
Yes.
No problems with his calves. It's full calves forward.
They should only tell you what's right.
Right.
At that point, it's like everything but the calves. Well,
Shin, quad, ankle, knee. I've never seen a description like that. It's fantastic.
so he's expected to play though. He just didn't practice on Wednesday. He's busy resting after the big week.
I guess.
You guys feel confident he'll play?
Yes. I do.
They need him. They don't have anybody.
All right.
They
don't-
lost
Well,
another.
they got Swoop.
I believe
Or is he hurt too?
They probably. I believe they lost another guard as well. I'll have to vet that. I don't remember if he played this last week or not, but there was a serious issue with one of their guards where he hurt apparently he broke a couple vertebrae, was still playing and then came out, and then only after the game they found out had he continued to play, life paralyzation was on the line.
Yeah.
So the offensive line, you thought it could only get better for the Indianapolis Colts, and we were wrong.
Try to tell you, man. It's not always up. You can move horizontally.
Isaiah Crowell didn't practice today or on Wednesday.
'Cause
He's
tired.
too tired from beating my dynasty team.
Hey-oh!
Mike's pathetic dynasty roster
Oh, I'm not going to argue.
ruined my perfect season thanks to Isaiah Crowell's 33 points. You beat me by, 1.5 points?
Yes. In
Thanks, Doug Baldwin.
You were driving.
Not just Doug Baldwin, Matt Breida.
I don't know if you realized
I lost by 1 point.
How intense the matchup was, because it was Todd Gurley.
Oh, I was listening.
At the very end, it was all three of us in the office were on Gurley watch as I held on to a 2-point margin.
It's funny you were on Gurley watch because I was on Mahomes watch. He was at the goal line, and much like last week, I said, if he passes here, I win my matchup. If they run it with Hunt here, I lose my matchup. And they ran it with Hunt again. So 2 straight weeks I've been punished by Kareem Hunt. Geronimo Allison has cleared the concussion protocol, but will not practice Thursday because of a hamstring injury. That seems strange, but look, he's not going to practice. You're going to have to monitor this again. I know, Jason, you said on the waiver show you're very interested in people who catch passes from a guy named Aaron Rodgers.
That is very, very true. I mean, pay attention to the hamstring issue. He needs to get back into practice. We don't like hamstring issues. If he doesn't go, it's the same as what we were saying on the waiver show. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a great play.
And you were right, Jason. Evan Ingram is out for tonight's game, the Thursday night game. There was a lot of optimism about him playing, but you said, I think it was yesterday in the Thursday night preview, that, look, it's probably not going to happen as optimistic as they're being because the team realizes there's 10 games between now, or 10 days between now and then. His next opportunity to start, so they're going to keep him healthy. Sterling Shepard, start him up, right?
Yep.
And then Darren Sproles is officially out, so Corey Clement, Wendell Smallwood. You start them both tonight?
Absolutely. I like both guys. And if let's say you've got Evan Ingram and you've got an IR spot, throw him into the IR, and if you want a speculative pickup, pick up Josh Adams, because if there's gonna be a breakout, it would be tonight. It would be in the first game where Jay Ajayi goes on IR and Darren Sproles is still out there. He's similar to the Ito Smith. Probably nothing,
right?
But you just don't have as many opportunities in the world to pick up running backs.
Yeah, and Clement has missed 2 games in a row. He was productive enough the previous 2 games, efficiency-wise. The last game he played, he was pretty good. So we can
Smallwood.
We can hope for the skies.
We've never been a fan of Smallwood as a talent, and I fully stand by that. But he's looked pretty good. He understands this offense now, and they were utilizing him in ways that maximizes him. That's what I love about Peterson.
Smallwood and Buck Allen hang out.
Yes, yes.
They get froyo together. They're tight.
Froyo bros.
They just hang on for dear life, and then they turn into something because you learn the offense. Before we move into the fantasy forecast, the first half of the matchups for the upcoming week, we do want to thank 23andMe. 23andMe is a DNA testing service that can offer insights into your ancestry, health, wellness, and traits. I actually did a 23andMe like 10 years ago. All 3 of us have done it. They include reports on how your DNA can influence your weight, your sleep quality, your caffeine intake, so they can tell you how you process caffeine. Maybe you're more or less sensitive, your sense of taste, whether you are likely to be lactose intolerant. They provide sleep reports. They tell you whether you're more likely to be a deep sleeper or to move during your sleep. They have all these very, very interesting, insightful reports. And I was listening to a podcast yesterday that was talking all about, the advances that people are making in biological testing and understanding more about how to reverse aging and things like that. It's pretty cool. So you can check it out right now. You can order your own 23andMe Health Plus Ancestry Service Kit today at 23andme.com/footballers. That's the number 23andme.com/footballers.
And hey, Foot Clan, never, ever, 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 ever forget about Pristine Auction. That's PRISTINE auction.com. I want you to remember, because you're going to come across a time in your life where you go, man, my dad's birthday's coming up. Oh, it's Father's Day. Oh, my boss's
almost yearly.
Whatever. Oh, mine. Yeah, exactly. Almost every year it's someone's birthday. And Pristine Auction sells or has an auction system of authentic signed sports memorabilia that is unbelievable. I mean, you've heard us talk about them for years now. We know the guys. They are a great group of people, and you can steal things. Let me ask you this. Do you think Sterling Shepard signed jersey, do you think that went yesterday for more or less than $50 signed on their auction?
I don't know.
less.
Oh.
That's ridiculous. Corey Davis, Andy, you love
Yeah.
Corey Davis. More or less than $50.
Probably less.
What is happening? So go to Pristine Auction, make a free account. Doesn't cost you anything unless you win, and make sure when you make it that you tell them you heard about them from the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Fantasy Forecast.
All right, teams on bye in Week 6, the New Orleans Saints and the Detroit Lions, which I'm kind of sad because I think if the Lions weren't on bye, we'd be having a long debate about Kenny Golladay and what he is now and on into the future.
And we could be talking about Kerryon Johnson. Let's be honest. That's what I always want to talk about.
Right, but anyway, we'll move on. We'll talk about that next week.
They're looking good, though. I will say that. They had a rough start to the season, but the Lions in general, that whole division is so fascinating right now because you've got the Bears who don't have a good quarterback, and they are leading the division. And then, the Packers and the Vikings, the two juggernauts, are struggling record-wise, and now the Lions look great. This is like I want to watch every single game in that division rest of the season and every other game.
I think, didn't Trubisky still throw more touchdowns than Aaron Rodgers the past 2 weeks?
I cannot confirm or deny.
All right. The 2-2 Buccaneers take on the 1-4, somehow, the 1-4 Falcons in Atlanta. The Falcons are 3.5-point favorites. This game is a 57.5-point over-under. And I've been on the fence about this game. Last week, the almost upset was the Bills. They got it done. They took the almost into actual. And it's going to happen again.
Andy's almost upset of the week.
Oh, sweet mercy.
The game's a 57.5-point over-under. It's going to be a barn burner. Vegas expects it. I expect it. These defenses,
They expect it.
they're playing. They're just booking when the scores will happen. Like, let's do 2 in the first quarter, 1 in the second quarter. But I think it's going to be a dogfight right to the end, and I think the Bucs are going to win the game, and the Falcons are going to be scratching their heads going, how are we 1-5 with how the offense has performed? And then the defense will look sheepishly in the other direction. However, Jameis Winston, you guys have talked about him a lot this week. I believe even ESPN has him as the 5th highest projected quarterback this week. We love Jameis Winston in this matchup.
Yes, I mean, he's a guy that even still now, days after waivers have run, is still widely available to be picked up and started, which is crazy. And I would start him over most other options. I'm starting him over Ben Roethlisberger this week. I want a piece of this game. Andy, if you actually think that the Buccaneers are going to upset or almost upset the Falcons in this high of an over-under, it's going to be on the arm of Jameis Winston. There's just no other choice. Now, that being said, Ronald Jones appears to be the starter. Are we in agreement there that he is going? It's not going to be Peyton Barber. That it's going to be Ronald Jones.
That way as well. Yes,
that's how I see it. And the Falcons have, it's a shame because the Falcons can really be gashed by pass catching running backs, which is not Ronald Jones' specialty, obviously. So I'm in love with Cameron Brate. We've talked about this. Some people think this is a trap game for Cameron Brate. I do not. I think Cameron Brate is going to destroy.
Jameis Winston's thrown for at least 260 yards and 3 touchdowns in his last 3 matchups with Atlanta. He's Mike's stream of the week this week. This is the Falcons defense lacking Keanu Neal, Deion Jones, Ricardo Allen for the rest of the season.
Last year, Jameis Winston threw for over 300 yards in 6 of 13 games, and that includes the games where he got knocked out and came back way too early from his shoulder injury. I mean, he is an absolute yardage machine. Paring things down at the tight end position to just Cameron Brate. We don't have to worry about the split between Brate and Howard. I think that actually helps Jameis Winston because he likes to focus in on guys. And the emergence of Chris Godwin as well. This offense is the best offense that Jameis will have played with.
They're also coming off the bye week.
That always helps.
And I think that Ronald Jones, while I'm not projecting an incredible end of the season, he's a perfect flyer opportunity for your roster. Because I think you can go get him. Like he doesn't have a lot of optimism, excitement. I think you can go get him on the cheap. You can trade somebody. Like, I don't know, maybe you go trade John Brown because you have an abundance of wide receivers.
Whoa, I would not.
And you
really?
go.
I think that's great advice.
I think that's totally fine because what you do, Mike, and you of all people, you're Mr. Depth at the running back position.
Of course.
If you want to pick up Ronald Jones, and let's say you have, even if it's a coin flip, that he ends up with 17, 18 carries in a productive week, he's not available for that price next week because he's a running back. So I think if you think he could do it, do it.
He is still available he's actually 30% owned, so he's available in the majority of leagues still.
If he's available on the waiver wire, I would not trade John Brown for him.
I agree.
Because you would not drop John Brown for him. Fair point.
What do you guys think about the wide receiver split with Winston? Evans, Jackson, Godwin. Look, Evans is a must-start every week, but
yes, Evans and Deshaun Jackson, those are the two guys I actually want to start. I did highlight Chris Godwin, but there's concern because 2 weeks ago Adam Humphries played more snaps than Chris Godwin. It defies logic. It appears that Chris Godwin is the far superior wide receiver, but I'm not the coach making the decisions. And then you have a difference of offensive philosophy between Ryan Fitzpatrick, who targets only wide receivers, to Jameis, who heavily utilizes his tight ends. So I have my concerns about starting Chris Godwin this week. I hope I'm wrong, but I would prefer not to play him.
Flipping to the other side, the home team, the Falcons, Matt Ryan at home, he has a 76% completion percentage. He drops down to 58% on the road thus far. And I have a note here. I guess, Brooks, you might have added this. It says Julio Jones destroyed the souls of Tampa Bay's secondary last year with 12 catches for 253 yards and 2 touchdowns. Do you think it's possible that he could score again in his career?
I think that it's never going to happen. No, actually, he's my number one wide receiver.
What happens first? Julio scoring or are you getting a league of record win?
I
think Julio scores this week.
Yeah, Julio scores this week, so the win will come at the end of the week. Julio's will come during the week, so Julio's first. Julio's my number one wide receiver. I mean, everyone's starting him, but I think you can expect a huge game from him at home. You just described how good Matt Ryan has been at home. They need this. It's a divisional matchup with a beatable defense. So, yes, 100%. Now, Austin Hooper, that's a name that has been very interesting because the tight end landscape has been, we'll say, piss poor. And you don't know who to start, and I think Austin Hooper is a guy, he's had enough volume that I would rather start someone like Austin Hooper than do the tight end that you're just hoping for a touchdown, and that's it.
Yeah,
Hooper is a startable top 12 tight end.
Yeah. You're not excited. Trust me, I'm rolling him out there. I'm not going like, I've got Austin Hooper, sucker.
Yeah, it's tough because between the cornerbacks on Tampa Bay, MJ Stewart, Brent Grimes, Carlton Davis, the receivers for Atlanta have such positive matchups across the board. I'm with you that Hooper's worth the dart throw, but I don't think he's getting anywhere close to the volume he got last week.
The 2-2-1 Steelers take on the 4-1 Bengals. The Bengals are 2.5-point home favorites, 52.5-point over/under. Let's start on the Pittsburgh side of the ball. Big Ben, I love him this week. Again, the over/under is on the high side. This is a divisional game. I think both teams are going to come to play, and the Steelers are they're in need of a victory. The Bengals are 4-1. They're leading the division. What do you expect to be the biggest decisions that fantasy owners are going to have to make in this matchup?
One of the decisions is going to be, what do I do with Tyler Boyd? Because he's not a huge name. It's just like in the NFL, when you draft a guy with a first-round pick, you have more rope to mess up. And in fantasy, when a guy has a big name, he was drafted high in our drafts, you give him more rope. Whereas Tyler Boyd had a disappointing game this last week, something like 4 for 44. It was disappointing. You want to go away from him immediately. that's a mistake. Tyler Boyd is still the absolute number 2 target in this offense, and I think that this is going to be a higher scoring game. I would recommend starting Tyler Boyd again this week, despite the fact that he didn't blow up how we wanted last week.
I think he's a similar mindset than what fantasy owners had last year about Robert Woods, actually, where because Robert Woods was kind of like having these games and you didn't know what to believe. You didn't know whether you could buy into it all the time. And I find this tendency happens at this point of the year every year with certain players. I'm sitting there at my roster, looking at my League of Record roster this morning, and I'm thinking, how do I leverage a guy like Kenny Golladay to go get a better wide receiver? And then I had to ask myself the question, maybe I already have a better wide receiver. It's like our tendency is to want to go and replace a player that's unproven over a long period of time with a name. Sometimes we want to do that.
Yes.
But the production is going to be just as good with a guy like, this year, Cooper Kupp, right? That's not the name everybody wanted, but he's the number 2 wide receiver, or a Robert Woods, or a Tyler Boyd, who is, look, Tyler Boyd, what name do you want more right now, Jarvis Landry or Tyler Boyd? Now Landry's kind of who you want, right? He's the one.
Yeah.
But the production of those two guys is very similar. The volume of targets and things like that, it's just interesting to break those trust problems down.
It certainly is. I really like Tyler Boyd this week, and that's because I have my concerns for A.J. Green, who will be matched up with Joe Hayden. This is not a bench A.J. Green. You always play your studs. But Joe Hayden is back for Pittsburgh. He has been shadowing. He nearly shut down Julio Jones. He did for an entire half. So I'm expecting that Andy Dalton will have to look for his secondary and tertiary targets, and I'm looking for a return to form for Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, obviously you start Joe Mixon.
Yes.
Gio Bernard is out, which is great news for Joe Mixon. It's good news for us to be able to talk about Mark Waltenberg. He's out there saying, "Hey, Joe, can I get a snap? No. Oh, no? Okay, that's cool. Say hi to your mother for
I'll
me.
get your water.
I got your water." Yeah.
Look, I think let me ask you this: C.J. Uzomah or Austin Hooper this week? Because last week, C.J. had 91.7% of the snaps, ran 28 pass routes. He only caught 2 passes, only a couple of targets.
But the targets for him were designed plays to go to him, which is it's nice that he's not just like, the 4th option is open, I'm going to go to him.
The Steelers are giving up the 2nd most tight end fantasy points per game, so that's one of the reasons I ask as well. If you're taking a shot,
I would rather go with Uzomah than
what was that?
Really?
Uzomah.
Secret of the ooze.
Secret of the ooze. I would rather go with C.J. Uzomah because in the red zone, Andy Dalton has been known to use tight ends a lot. And so with the Tyler twins both being injured, one on IR, and I don't have an update on Tyler Kroft, but I know he was dealing with another injury. If it's actually Uzomah for the whole game.
I mean, he was in for over 90% of the snaps.
Kroft was in almost 50% of the snaps as well. He got, a target. I do believe based on the matchup being at home and if Kroft is out.
Yeah, he was in a walking boot on Wednesday, I believe.
Yeah, so I mean, I like both guys, willing to start both guys, but I feel like the touchdown upside plus the between the 20s is there for Uzomah.
Obviously, this is the at least one more week of James Conner at top 10 running back production. He's got the most snaps in football, other than quarterbacks, with 254 snaps, tied for the 3rd most touches in football. Those are the things that kind of raise your baseline each and every week, right? It's just pure volume.
Yep.
And then he's been productive as well. So he's out there. You're starting Antonio Brown, had the big bounce back week, kind of gave you Antonio Brown stuff, and then Juju Smith-Schuster. So the other question is Vance McDonald. I like him in this matchup because it's a high over-under. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity to go around. So do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, the Bengals have been getting beat by tight ends. Even though Vance McDonald was disappointing this past week, I'm still good playing him.
You're going to every tight end in his tier,
is going to disappoint you.
Austin Hooper could very well have 1 catch this week. I mean, that is in the range of his outcomes. So I think McDonald, he had the disappointing week, but I don't like bouncing around either. If there's a better player with a better matchup, that's fine, but I don't like just arbitrarily bouncing around when McDonald had the opportunity. He ran 28 routes. I mean, disappointing week, but he was out there running routes. 3-2 Chargers take on the 2-1 Browns, 45-point over-under. Browns are 1-point underdogs at home in this one. Do you guys think that line is interesting?
Yeah, no, I mean, you have to respect the Cleveland Browns defense right now, and Baker's been able to move the offense enough. They're at home, so I think this would probably be what I would guess the line would be: slight underdogs against the Chargers, who have been very good, and they're a fine road team considering all 16 of their games are road games this year. The concern, this is one of those games you'll want to monitor the weather as we get closer. 13-mile-an-hour winds. Once you get up to about the 15-mile-an-hour winds, that's where you start seeing a shift to more rushing plays over passing plays. So that's where you monitor it. Antonio Callaway is the type of guy that we were talking about this, right? Like, we don't want to talk about him, but his opportunity is perfect here.
Yes.
I mean, he really should be good, and I'm willing to take another flyer on him this week unless, Sunday morning you're checking the weather and you go, yeah, it's 16, 17-mile-an-hour winds. If you've got another factor in there and you've got a guy like Antonio Callaway that you don't entirely trust, that's where I go, yeah, okay, I'm gonna look elsewhere.
Mike, are you playing somebody like Antonio Callaway this week, or are you playing somebody like Keelan Cole?
Ooh, that's an excellent question. That's a team-dependent question of what I need. I am likely playing Antonio Callaway where I have him in Dynasty. I like the opportunity. The Chargers are giving up the fourth most points to the wide receiver position. Casey Hayward for Los Angeles Chargers last year was an absolute elite shutdown corner. This year he's allowing over 16 yards per catch, a passer rating of 140. It's not been going very well. So I'm interested in Callaway.
See, Callaway, he actually called me. He asked me. He said, "Can you play me this week?" I said, "Prove it." I said, "Show me first. Bring me your stat sheet, and then maybe next week."
Yeah,
that's where he is for me. I think that at the wide receiver position, there are so many guys you can play.
Yes.
Why force it?
No, I completely agree with that. I mean, I see Callaway as I would rather have him if I'm in a tournament play and he's cheap on a daily fantasy, swing for the fences, because he could have a monster game, and that's why you take the chance. But what we've learned so far is you can't catch the ball, and that sucks.
It was one of the biggest
you need to do that, right?
Features of a wideout.
Baker's throwing for over 300 yards a game. Granted, he's going into overtime, so he's playing 5 quarters. But and Andy holds up his "Bless him" T-shirt. But
Jarvis is weak, guys.
So let's test it then. Antonio Callaway, who should be on the field for 80+% of the snaps.
Yes.
With Rashard Higgins out. I mean, he was already on the field last week in his declined role of nearly 70% of the snaps. Antonio Callaway is going to be on the field, or Josh Gordon in a juicy matchup, but he's playing 18 snaps a game.
Give me Gordon.
Yeah, I'm going to take Gordon.
All right.
I think Duke Johnson could be more involved with the absence of Higgins as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see the game plan go that way. And also the short passing game, if the winds get up there, could be viable both with Landry and Duke Johnson. This will be an interesting game. I guess I'm a little bit surprised that the Browns are getting this much credit in Vegas with the Chargers playing as well as they are. But the Browns, look, they're 2-1.
The only other big questions here are: do you start Austin Eckler and do you start Mike Williams?
I looked at Austin Eckler, and he is the most terrifying player to start in the face of the planet. He scored in 4 of 5 weeks, right? And the weeks he doesn't score through the air, he scored on the ground. The week he doesn't score on the ground, he scores through the air. He has 10 touches a game, and he terrifies me.
Yeah, because you can't – I mean, starting a running back –
because I know as soon as I start him, he will get nothing.
Yeah, who only gets 10 touches is – yeah, that's rough.
Mike,
sweat.
Are you starting him?
You can flex him, yep.
Oh, man.
You can.
I'm still leaving him on
covering
my bench.
my eyes.
And Mike Williams, he's one of those guys where I see a lot of the same argument that you're making about waiting on Antonio Callaway. There's just a lot of wide receivers. There's a lot of options. You don't have to throw in the, he could have a big game guy, because you probably can, you picked up Tyler Boyd, or I would much rather play the volume over the big play opportunities in Callaway and Mike Williams.
Here's my advice for the Cleveland Browns. I talked about the schedule for them is absolutely incredible coming up, with Chargers this week, Tampa, Pittsburgh, great matchups. If your tight end position is rough, try to get David Njoku. He's had 7+ targets in 4 of 5 games, 11 targets this past week. He's starting to emerge. The touchdowns have not come for him. That's why people aren't freaking out about David Njoku. If he was putting up the targets and receptions and had caught a touchdown or two by now, everyone would be losing their crap for David Njoku. I think it's only a matter of time before he breaks out, and I would like to get on it before the breakout happens.
Yeah, I think there is a lack of trust in Callaway on the Todd Haley side of the equation, and Njoku could be a beneficiary of that as well. The 2-3 Bills take on the 2-3 Texans. Texans are 10-point home favorites, 41-point over-under. Start your Texans defense based on those two metrics.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
That's been the policy of me for weeks now. Just play whoever's playing the Bills.
Yep.
Because even if the Bills do produce, there's enough mistakes to go around. And then if they don't produce, you're ending up in a great situation. Texans playing a little bit better of late. Deshaun Watson's been pretty good. Now, Lamar Miller says he's definitely going to play in this game. But we need to remember one thing that I don't think you guys mentioned when you were talking about whether you liked blue or not yesterday was the snap. The snaps were starting to change before Lamar Miller's injury. He wasn't the guy in the final game before his injury. He was sharing snaps with Alfred Blue because we saw this at the end of last year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. I was going to bring up the end of last season when all of a sudden you had Lamar Miller, who was a workhorse running back for the whole season.
Jason with the
throat leaving. I mean, this is a guy who was averaging 17 carries a week through the first 13 games, and then all of a sudden at the end of the year, they're like, it's not that good. Let's give him 9. Let's give him 8. Let's give him 10. And Alfred Blue took over. And so, yeah, you did start to see that. I really do believe there is a part of this team that is preparing these running backs for Deonta Foreman's return.
Possible.
Yeah, Lamar Miller could end up in Devontae Booker's shoes by the end of this year. I mean, he will still have a role, but I don't want to play him. And the Texans have won the last 2 games in which Lamar Miller has been phased out of the offense, either by injury or by decision. I'm not confident starting him is what I'm saying. I know that the matchup's beautiful for that, but, I mean, if I had to choose between Lamar Miller and Alfred Blue, like if I had to, like my life depended on it.
Gun to the face.
Whoa!
Right. He's got a gun to my head.
Wow!
And I'm saying
most people go head. I say face.
I'm going Alfred Blue is my point.
Oof.
Yeah, I would as well, and I would not dare do either of those things.
No, I don't want to.
I think Mike correctly pumped the brakes on this backfield. Look elsewhere.
I decided to pick up Chris Ivory as a cursory hold.
Yes. Oh.
As a cursory hold.
I saw your pickup, and I was so upset with us that we did not talk about him more in the waiver wire show. We were talking about so many people. Chris Ivory is a must-own right now because LaShawn McCoy's not getting traded. Obviously, the Eagles play tonight, and if it's going to the Eagles, it's too late. But as the trade deadline approaches, it would not shock me at all if LaShawn McCoy is traded, and we talked about the value that makes for Shady. But if he's gone, Chris Ivory is probably he is a much bigger beneficiary than even Shady is.
Yeah, he's just kind of the forgotten piece of that whole potential rumor mill. Now, it's not fun to sign a guy like that and have him on your bench, so you might not have room for him. I tried to look and see, is there a bye week that strategically makes sense, but their bye is not until week 11. I'm just holding them for a week or two.
Yeah.
My team can afford it. And if for some reason McCoy goes out the door, I got a starting running back. I need one as my 2 running backs share a bye week. So just something I wanted to mention. You're not starting a Bill other than LaShawn McCoy this week. McCoy did have 24 carries last week, I believe. So
yes, the volume is back for Shady McCoy, so you can play him as a low end too.
Now, would you're playing Hopkins? Are you playing Fuller?
Yeah.
Are you playing Sneaky Cootie?
Yeah.
Sneaky Kiki?
I am willing to play Kiki, Fuller, and Hopkins, and Watson.
Ooh. Wow.
I think he is sneaky, Mike.
I think
when he's the third guy, he's sneaky as the third guy.
Fair. A fair point. And I think he'll be sneaky because of his utilization of they're going to need to throw underneath to Kiki this week.
All right, the 3-1 Bears take on the 3-2 Dolphins. 41.5 point over under. This game's in Miami. The Dolphins are 3.5 point dogs at home. Is that correct?
That is correct. The Bears coming off their bye with their improved defense, their superstar quarterback.
Yeah, 6 touchdowns.
Whew.
I don't think I'd want a different defense. I mean, the Bears are.
Yeah.
I mean, this is who I want to play.
This is why people held the Bears through their bye week.
No, it's funny. We mentioned, the Bears are owned everywhere, and then the amount of tweets I saw of people picking up the Bears.
What?
Oh, yeah. People were like, hey, it happened in my league. The Bears were available. Drop
Good
for
for
the bye
you.
week.
Well, with the bye week, it makes sense. Yeah, and look, how many touchdowns have they given up to running backs this year? Do you want to know?
The Bears?
Yeah.
I'm going to guess less than 30.
Okay, warmer.
0?
0.
Yes.
No touchdowns to the running back position. It's not going to be sunny days for Kenyon Drake or Frank Gore in this one. You have a Bears defense that's playing well. The Dolphins are dead last in offensive pace and 31st in plays per game. Isn't that like the antithesis of what Adam Gase wants to do? And does this just mean Ryan Tannehill cannot comprehend this offense or run it at a pace that is sufficient, or does this fall on Gase or everybody involved?
I think it falls on Gase and Tannehill. That you can't blame Kenyon Drake for not getting the ball. When he gets it, he does great things with it.
He's going to have to go take it.
Ryan Tannehill is not a good enough quarterback to lead a franchise to success, and Adam Gase is a butthole.
Oh, based on analysis.
Yeah.
Now, if you and I do mean analysis.
Oh, we need the
You need the rim shot. I'm sorry. Look, if you had a gun to your face, as you were prone to say,
Stop with the violence.
and you had to have a franchise quarterback for the next 10 years, be either Ryan Tannehill or Mitch Trubisky, at which hellish life would you prefer?
Oh, sweet mercy.
And I say that,
Look, people will be surprised.
You got to go Trubs.
But you got to go Mitch Trubisky here.
Yeah.
I mean, my take against Mitch Trubisky is that he will never be a great quarterback, but I think he can be a middle-of-the-pack quarterback, which Ryan Tannehill cannot achieve.
is this the week that Mr. Jordan Howard awakes from hibernation?
Yes. Yeah.
3.2 yards per carry, second worst in the league right now.
Yeah, he's going to be absolutely fine. The Dolphins can shut down everything except for the running back position, allowing running back one performance after running back one performance. I love Jordan Howard.
Yeah, Jordan
this
Howard
week.
is a great trade for target.
I feel like we've said, I feel like I'm Groundhog Day. Because I feel like this is the same Jordan Howard conversation we have had, other than the bye week.
But this time it works.
Does it work?
Yes.
I've seen the end of the movie. It works out well.
You don't think that the Tariq Cohen explosion
they
was
played
indicative of lack of production from Howard?
No, I think that was game plan. Which they've said all along that their running backs will be game plan dependent. And in their last game, which was 2 weeks ago, was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who can't stop the pass. The Dolphins can't stop the run. I'm expecting lots of Jordan Howard.
Symbolically, I will give my analysis on the Miami wide receivers by moving on to the next game. 1-4 Cardinals.
Hey, if you can beat the Bears anywhere, it's the fantasy wide receivers.
And I will not play any of them.
I won't either. I mean, you can always get a long bomb touchdown from Kenny Stills, but he's in the same boat to me as Mike Williams, Antonio Callaway.
Traquan Smith.
You can get a long bomb touchdown from these guys. So what? Who cares?
Yeah, the 1-4 Christian Kirk. The 1-4 Cardinals and Christian Kirk take on the 2-2-1 Vikings. The Vikings are 10-point home favorites. 43-point over/under. That's the Cardinals aren't going to score based on that over/under. I mean, I would have expected a higher over/under there with a 10-point gap, but I guess the Cardinals are just doomed in this one. How excited? What's the real ceiling for David Johnson in this road matchup against the Vikings' 8th-ranked running defense? They're only giving up 17.5 fantasy points per game to the position. You know, a few snaps are going to go Chase Edmonds' way.
The best-case scenario is the running back 15.
Is that why you suggested the trade of David Johnson earlier?
That is. Look, if you did, I mean, not everybody gets to watch the games, and if you watched the Arizona Cardinals games, you see he was gifted 2 touchdowns by not even just Arizona's defense, but the combination of Arizona's defense with C.J. Beathard, turning the ball over in bad situations. That's not going to happen every week. And again, David Johnson is hyper-talented and is a workhorse. As the season goes on, you're going to get plenty of serviceable games from him, as you've already had. I mean, he's been okay for fantasy. Disappointing, yes, but okay. But if you can trade up, if you can package trade him, I will say it until I'm blue in the face, you have to do it. I mean, this week, David Johnson to me is an RB2 for sure. Now,
I was not here to watch your face, so it's important to me that I bring up the David Johnson-Joe Mixon discussion briefly. I did get to listen to you admit that you were biased and that Mixon's the better pick, but do you want to speak to that again while I'm present?
He finally got to the truth.
Not really. I'd like to go away now. Let's talk about the Vikings.
Yeah, let's talk about the Vikings.
Light them up.
Thielen's the number 1 fantasy wideout. Diggs is the number 8 fantasy wideout in half-point leagues. They're both incredible, and I believe – did you know this? Adam Thielen, first wide receiver in NFL history with 100 yards in every game.
Did you listen to the Fantasy Footballers podcast?
Not on Monday, Mike. If you mentioned it on Monday, no, I was
certainly did.
You were on
the beach?
Listening. I was on the beach.
What a jerk!
Yeah, you're going to start both those guys. I think you could.
Yeah, but did you hear?
I think you could start Kyle Rudolph as well. Of course, the real question here becomes
the running backs.
There is something has to give moment. It's like 2 0-5 teams playing each other. Someone's going to win. The Cardinals are so putrid against the run. They cannot stop the edge. They cannot stop it up the middle.
So the middle and the edges, they're bad at.
Exactly.
But otherwise.
Everywhere on that line is terrible. I mean, Jerick McKinnon goes down. Matt Breida's tearing up the Cardinals. Matt Breida goes down. Alfred Morris tearing up the Cardinals.
Next man up.
Yeah,
34.5 points per game given up to running backs.
But the Vikings cannot run the ball. Latavius Murray has been bad. Their offensive line can protect Kirk when they're passing, but they cannot open anything for the running backs. When they call a run play, it's like the offensive line just lets them in. And first, can you start?
Latavius Murray is good for at least 10 fantasy points in this game.
Yeah. So first off, we have to figure out if Dalvin Cook's going to play. He was limited on Wednesday with the hamstring. Will they choose to say, we're going to win this game, let's rest Dalvin Cook one more time?
Yes.
And let Latavius Murray play.
It would be such a stupid move to play Dalvin Cook in this game.
So Latavius Murray, in my league where I have my choice will likely come down to Buck Allen, Latavius Murray, or Jamal Williams. And I will go Latavius Murray as of right now.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, with that over-under in that point spread, this is a game that Vegas expects them to be well out ahead of, and there's no reason Murray can't get 14 carries in this game.
And I just expect that Latavius Murray can actually have success in this game.
All right, let's move on.
Starts of the week.
All right, starts of the week for week 6. I'm excited. Look, let's start at the running back position, and I'm going to go with the revenge narrative. At home, Marshawn Lynch.
Well, sort of at home.
Right.
I mean, by at home, you mean like
other side of the world.
You mean like thousands of miles away.
That is a London game. Wake up early.
No, you don't have to wake. That's why it's so tricky. Because when you're looking at the schedule, they're playing at regular time.
That's incredible.
That's
and
why
I'm so happy
that's
about
why
that.
it sneaks up on you.
Being a West Coast guy, that is fantastic
Well,
news.
I'm exceptionally happy he's not playing in Seattle in that situation. And Marshawn Lynch, look, he's a game script dependent RB1. That's what he is. If things other than last week against the Chargers, 18, 19, 20 carries the previous 3 weeks. He's got motivation going up against his former club. And I think, look, if you're touching the ball 18 times a game, Seattle's middle of the pack at best against, I think they're even a little below average against the running back. And they gave up, 3 touchdowns on the ground last week to the Rams. They gave up a touchdown to the Cardinals the week before.
Marshawn Lynch is so good.
He's really good.
Just really good. If you look, the first half of last year, if you remember, they were really just
They thought they could rest him for the playoffs.
Exactly. They thought they were a Super Bowl contender. They thought they were going to rest him for the playoffs, and they didn't give him much work. And then they realized, we got to win games, so they start using him. The second half of last year till now, he's second in the league in rushing yards. He's the second best. He's fourth best in the league in rushing touchdowns. I mean, the dude is a beast. He's called beast mode for a reason.
Yeah, he's really good.
And it really is. I mean, for all intents and purposes, for the point of analysis, it is a home game because the Raiders fans traveled. They're much more international. This is going to be a great game for Marshawn. I like that a lot. My start of the week is a guy that, he's a start of the year. He is, don't go away from him. But specifically this week, James White is going to have 700 receptions. The Kansas City Chiefs and the New England Patriots are going to try to break the scoring record, and it's going to happen through the air. James White, who is currently the running back 7 on the year, he is splitting time with Sony Michel in a way that is usable on the ground. 2 weeks ago, 8 carries for 44 yards on the ground. Last week against Indianapolis, 10 receptions, 77 yards through the air, 1 receiving touchdown. He has 4 receiving touchdowns already. We're in week 5, or 5 weeks have been in the books. You just keep rolling with James White, and you need to treat him. This is one of those things where if you want to trade for a player or you look at rest of season rankings, James White is surprised. I mean, he's pretty much a top 15 running back, right?
Yes.
Which is crazy because I don't think anybody actually, even myself, even saying this, if I'm like setting up my rankings and my list, I wonder how far down, if I were to make rest of the season like you're having a draft today, how far down would I stupidly put James White? Stop it. He's great. He's on the Patriots. He's going to be fantastic. Start him, start of the week.
And I'm on the opposite side of the game from Andy. I like the Marshawn call. I like the running backs over in the London game, the Seattle boys, Chris Carson, and I'm even throwing in the bonus Mike Davis because I think that he is flexible. I don't know about him touching his toes, but flexible as in you could play him as a third option. Chris Carson, his last 2 games, over 100 yards in each performance. Mike Davis has a 100-yard game to his credit as well. He's last week over 5 a carry, 3 touchdowns in his past 2 games. Schottenheimer, it's working. We gave him crap all offseason, but it is working as of late for the Seattle Seahawks.
Still don't like it.
And the Oakland Raiders are giving up the 5th most points to fantasy running backs. They're
Raiders,
not going to be able to stop Chris Carson and Mike Davis.
The Raiders are surprisingly good at giving up yards and points to running backs.
Fair.
So congrats.
Wide receiver start of the week, bless him.
Bless him.
I'm going to give you that Jarvis Landry pat on the back. He's only the 25th best wide receiver in fantasy football so far in the season. He's only scored 1 time. This is the week I believe he gets on track. He's good for a couple of these long breakaway touchdowns per year. The Odell Beckham style slant pass, shimmy shake, punt return style.
Shimmy, shimmy, shake.
Scores. I think it's this week. Jarvis Landry is the guy that I want. Bless him.
Yeah, I'm going with Robert Woods, and this is not Robert Woods because Cooper Kupp and Brandin Cooks are in
that would be a
concussion
good
protocol.
reason.
No. I'm fully expecting all three of these players to play. I am making Robert Woods my start of the week with all three active. The Denver Broncos have a pretty good defense. Middle of the pack to top. They're top third. I see them as a top third defense.
Top 30.
Definitely.
Yeah, okay. I accept.
Against the wide receiver position, they're the 12th best. They're
After last week, I declined them praise.
Sure. I mean, Robbie Anderson
15
did some
snaps,
work.
damage, and then 30-something points against the Jets. I hesitate.
Sure.
But
that's fine.
Robert Woods is good.
You
But
don't
Robert
have to
Woods-
talk up Denver to be happy that you're
Yeah,
playing
that's
Robert
true.
Woods.
That's true.
There is, and this is genuine. There is a huge difference between Denver at home and Denver on the road. And in fact, if you look at the last Denver road game where they traveled east, I want to say it was like 2016 since their last victory there. So, yes, they were terrible at the Jets, but at home in Denver, I think they're going to be better. But they're going to need Robert Woods. Robert Woods has been great. You should not, cannot, do not want to bench him. He's my start of the week. I think he's going to be a top 15 wide receiver this week.
Did you know that the pace of the Rams wide receivers, Robert Woods on pace for over 1,300, and both Cooper Kupp and Brandin Cooks on pace for over 1,400?
Nice.
I mean, they are absolutely
pretty good.
Destroying my wide receiver start of the week. I pretty much talked it up already, but Tyler Boyd, I'm taking the secondary option in the Pittsburgh matchup. Just trying to get in on that action. I know it's the divisional game, so weird things do happen, but I have faith in Tyler Boyd coming through while A.J. Green could certainly struggle against Joe Hayden. And I'm going to just real quick do my last two because it's a combo. I'm going with the stack. My quarterback, or did you did your wide receiver already, right, Andy? Yeah, Jarvis.
Yeah, but yes.
So to get him out of the way, but Jameis and Cameron Brate, Tampa Bay Buccaneers stack. I'm all about it. We analyzed that game fully, so those are my starts. Jameis and Cameron. Last week to start the season, Cameron Brate had a touchdown, I think, in like 5 straight games. I'm all about it.
Yeah,
Jameis and Cameron.
I'm stacking my quarterback tight end as well. I'm doing Vance Dance, the remix. Vance McDonald. The Bengals
Remix is always better.
The Bengals have allowed the 9th most fantasy points per game to the tight end. It's a 53-point over-under, and I want a piece of that action.
And I'm going to go with, a guy that has just been on fire. True breakout this year, George Kittle.
That you have to stack the quarterback. That's the rules of this week's starts, Jason.
Oh, no.
So C.J.
I've got to have
is your
C.J. Beathard.
Yep.
Oh, I thought he just had to put Hooper in. I thought that's
no.
If I've got to switch one because
but you said Kittle, so now you got Beathard.
No, I switched to Hooper because I've got Matt Ryan. Look, George Kittle has been absolutely unstoppable. He's, over 5 receptions a game the last 3 weeks. Beathard targets him, and he is a beast. I tweeted out. Did either of you see the tweet of
I don't follow you.
Yeah, I muted you.
Really? I'm a pretty good follow.
You're going to upgrade to block if you keep it up.
Is that
At
Mark
Jason FFL.
Wallenberg that just came out?
But
follow me.
Kittle is an excellent run blocker as well. He's just a beast freak athlete.
Yes,
90%.
I did see your tweet, and I did see the video of George Kittle demoralizing somebody with your
guy.
get-bodied tweet.
So, look, he is fantastic. I think that the matchup at Green Bay, they're going to need him. They're going to need to be passing the ball, stay in the flames with George Kittle. He's a top 5 tight end.
Yeah, and then I guess I didn't even realize we hadn't said our quarterback. So, Mike, you went with Jameis Winston.
Yeah, you said Ben.
I'm going Big Ben, with the high over-under. And then, Jason, you have Matt Ryan?
Oh, Matt Ryan at home, 57.5-point over-under. Devonta Freeman either will be hobbled or miss the game. It's air.
Big fantasy performance from Matt Ryan.
Air Ryan.
Yes, Air Ryan.
And a big defeat. Just a big loss.
Possibly. I hope so, not for, the Falcons. Let's face it, you're 1-4, you're already out. The Falcons fans have had some brutal losses. I feel so bad for them. But if the Falcons lose, that means Matt Ryan slinging that ball for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And that would be great.
All right, those were the start of the weeks. One final act.
Jason Moore's ironclad, locked and loaded, 100% guaranteed boom boom kicker of the week.
The first time around it didn't work, so I'm going to pull out my ukulele and sing a song to get them going with the Vikings' Dan Bailey.
I got
two things here. Why did you go with a country twang to talk about a ukulele?
I don't know.
To him, a
What I
ukulele
do?
and a banjo are identical.
They're the same. Thank you, Andy.
I understand the brain of Jason Moore.
The banjo and
They
the
both
ukulele
got 4 strings.
are identical. They're teensy tiny guitars.
Two, when we were watching the games on Sunday, I had to turn because of how this segment has been going. I turned to Jason. I said, "Holy crap! Was Mason Crosby your boom boom kicker of the week?" And we both panicked for a moment, but it was not.
That would have been awesome.
Were you okay last week?
Yeah. My kicker, he's been okay the last couple weeks here.
You did it. All right, the rest of the matchups tomorrow. Thanks for listening.
Hey, check out FootClanVote.com. Carry us to another victory. And if you're going to play some daily, check out draft.com/ballers. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.